Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos. I am the Reverend John Cullinan, your minister here. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of all people and gather together in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are at this moment, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome to be a part of our community. I want to extend a special welcome this morning to any visitors or first-time guests we have among us. I would love to meet you after the service while we have coffee hour in the fellowship hall, introduce myself, answer any questions you might have about our community here. New parents are encouraged to have a conversation with our Director of Lifespan Religious Education, the Reverend DeYoe. I lost track of where I was. Let us take a moment to center, because obviously I could use that right now in this moment. Feel yourself grounded where you are, and breathe in deeply, and breathe out. And let us begin. This is the season of endings and beginnings, when the small signs of dawn pierce through the night and something new is born. But first comes the waiting. First come the lessons of endings and beginnings. The presence of life, the sheltering spirit of love, grieves with those sweeping up the debris of loss. Waits with those who restlessly reach out for change, grants us courage in the night to guard each other's dreams for this holy, wondrous universe. Grant us, O universe unfolding in mystery, a sense of your timing. May we loosen our grip on that which does not serve us, leaving behind that which we have outworn and outgrown. Teach us the lessons of beginnings. Remind us that such waitings and endings may be a starting place, a planting of seeds which bring to birth what is ready to be born, something right and just and different, a new song, a deeper relationship, a fuller love in the fullness of time. Come, let us worship together on this beautiful morning. Would you all please rise in body or spirit and join in our opening hymn, number 226. Please remain standing and join in our affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve life in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. Thus do we covenant with each and with all. Please be seated. A candle has been lit today to remember Anne Schaefer, who is currently in Christus St. Vincent after a cardiac episode. She is in recovery and recovering well from what I last heard. For all our joys, all our sorrows, whether we share them aloud with one another here or we hold them close and quiet in our hearts, let us be together now in a moment of silence. Eternal and beloved, gracious source of all life and all love, we come together this morning grateful for this time out of time, which we have set apart so that we might become more fully present to ourselves, to each other, to our communities, to that which we call holy. May our joys be celebrated together, our wounds be healed together, our hearts be opened together. Let us fix our hearts this day on hope. It may seem for some an impossible sentiment this month. Uncertainty abounds, and for that very reason, we must focus on hope. May those among us who are in need find the courage to call out for help. May those among us in a position to help open our hearts and gather strength to do what is needed. We gather now in a season where we wait for the return of light, literally and otherwise. Let us not succumb to despair. Let us refuse to participate in the culture of greed and cynicism. Let us remember the call for this community to be a beacon. In the embrace of this circle, may we be reminded that we are the light we are waiting for. In the face of darkness, let us tend to the spark so we might carry this circle of care and concern in our hearts throughout the week to come, until we can be in one another's presence once more. All this we pray in the names of those known and unknown, present and absent, remembered and forgotten, in the names of all the helpers of humankind. Amen.
And I would like to invite all of our kids and the young and young at heart to come and sit over here close to the stage if you want for a time for all ages. And I forgot we have to get our rug back out here. I know. We put it away for Thanksgiving, before Thanksgiving. So we'll get it back next week. So come sit down. You guys can sit right here. So we're going to talk about this word and this season we're in right now called Advent. Also, we're preparing for holiday time, right, that we celebrate with our family. But the word Advent, does anyone know what that might mean? Anyone? So the word Advent that we're celebrating starting this Sunday and up until Christmas time, Advent means coming, okay? So the coming of the sun, right? We know that solstice is coming, so the coming of the sun coming back, right, and longer days. Or sometimes in the Christian church, they celebrate the coming of the baby Jesus, right, who is their Messiah and their Savior, right? So it's the coming and the waiting. So that's what Advent means, coming and waiting and preparing for the coming of the son, the coming of a baby, right? If you know that if you have younger siblings, that waiting for a baby, you have to prepare. It's 9 months, right? So you have to prepare for the coming of that baby. So that's what Christians celebrate, is the coming of Jesus, right? So we light these candles during this season, and this is our Advent wreath up here. You see this? So we light these candles. So today we have a candle for hope, right? That's right, John, right? The first one. Hope, yeah. So we have our candle of hope that we're going to light. And then we're going to light another candle next Sunday, right? And then we're going to light another candle and another candle. And then when it becomes Christmas time, we light a white candle for the coming of the light, right? So a lot of people make wreaths, and you guys were coloring some of those on the intention table. So wreaths like that, right, with our candles. There's like a wreath on there that you see with candles, and they put greenery around them so that maybe they can remember that the spring is going to come again, right? We're going to keep going through the cycles of winter and spring. And so we have this Advent wreath for you to take home, and you can color it with your family, okay? So you got all the different candles, right? And every Sunday, every week, you can do a lighting of a candle. See, I got the candles for you guys. You can take home, right? And add one each Sunday. And so there are reflections here. So today, right, we're going to light this candle of hope for the meaning of hope while we wait for the coming, okay? And then there's a reflection here that you can say at dinner time with your family if you want. You can put this on your dinner table if you want. And then the next Sunday, you're going to light 2 candles, hope and love, okay? So you can do that. And then the next Sunday, you can do hope, love, and joy. And joy is that pink one, okay? So that's for joy, to remember to rejoice and have fun, right? This is a fun time of year. Who gets to see Santa this year? Are you going to see Santa? Oh, and Santa's coming, I heard, to the church too. So we're going to have lots of joy and eating good food. Who makes Christmas cookies? Yeah, holiday cookies? Yum. Yeah, so we're going to have fun. And then we're going to light hope, joy, love, and peace. And that's all of those candles that we remember. Hope, love, joy, and peace. And then on Christmas Day, you light the light one, okay? The white for light and the return of the light, or Jesus, if you celebrate that, right? So you could do that too, however your family wants to. And so you guys can take this home. I'm going to give you some stuff you can do with your families. Adults, you guys can do this too. So come to the activity table after worship and get your Advent wreath if you want to take that home. And you guys can take this home and do it with your families. Does that sound like a plan? Does that sound good? All right, awesome. Well, thanks. We're going to be celebrating Advent today, and you'll hear more from our minister, John, and he'll be talking about that too. So thanks for coming up. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to give you an Advent wreath.
A single note passes out of the ashes, a flickering ember begins. It's the courage to turn when the pages are burned and your story now seems at an end. Seasons stay and seasons go, sending your memories adrift. It's the beautiful longing, embrace the unknown, that's the mystery of your gift. And the echoes of your melody will always live in these walls. And the lessons that you gave to me, before you can fly, you must fall. It's the beautiful longing, embrace the unknown, that's the mystery of your gift. There's a voice in the shadow calling for more. There's a rhythm that beats from within, lending your voice to the warmth of your song. There's a strength in the choir of one, pure as the voice that sees the place where the weight of your past may now lift.
So for the past 17 years, I have placed out in some form or another, on whatever form of table we happen to have out on the chancel, an Advent wreath and lit it for the 4 weeks. And for 17 years, I am sure there are some of you who at some point have watched me do this and have asked, why? Why this particular ritual? It isn't exactly meaningful to everybody sitting out in the crowd. Not all of us are waiting for the celebration of the birth of Jesus. Not all of us are waiting for the coming of the Prince of Peace at all. John, you might as well do something as meaningless as put an elf on the shelf up there if we're talking about waiting for something. Why? Why Advent? Why has it been so important to me all of these years? And the answer is simple and not. I think Advent is for everyone. I think Advent is for everyone. But how, right? One of the first readings of the Advent season comes from the prophet Isaiah, who has many, many things to say in his text about the coming of the Messiah, the anointed one, the one who will save us all. And this verse in particular, a voice cries out, "In the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God." Now, I, like some of you, struggle a bit with this language. It's brewed into my culture and how I grew up. But over the years, especially as a Unitarian Universalist, and especially now as a UU minister, I get a little squicky around the king language, the Lord language. But go with me for a minute here. The Lord, written in the Hebrew Scriptures at this point in Isaiah, is Yahweh, Yod-He-Vav-He, which I've talked about on several occasions before. We can look at as a complex form of the verb to be, that which is becoming that which shall be, or as I've shortened it in the past, everything, all that is. In the wilderness, prepare the way for all that is, that becoming that which shall be. In the earliest gatherings of Christians, not long after the death of Jesus, the image most often used was not that of a king, was not that of the dying and rising God. It was the Good Shepherd. You can find images of it still painted in Roman buildings around Judea. They've found it among ruins. The earliest concept of Jesus was as the Good Shepherd. Now, we have shepherds in town, but I don't think any of us are one. Yes? No? Okay. So maybe we need a slightly better metaphor to slap onto there. I've talked a lot about the neighborhood these last few years. Not the kingdom, but the neighborhood is what we are trying to build, the beloved community. So maybe what we're waiting for, all of us, is the arrival of the good neighbor. And who is my neighbor? We've talked about this several times as well. Who could be the good neighbor we are waiting for? Our great religious education pioneer, Sophia Lyon-Faz, wrote this many, many years ago, and it sits in our hymnal, and I haven't used it in a long time. For so the children come, and so they have been coming. Always in the same way they come, born of the seed of man and woman. No angels herald their beginnings. No prophets predict their future courses. No wise men see a star to show where to find the babe that will save humankind. Yet each night a child is born is a holy night. Fathers and mothers sitting beside their children's cribs feel glory in the sight of new life beginning. They ask, where and how will this new life end? Or will it ever end? Each night a child is born is a holy night. A time for singing, a time for wondering, a time for worshiping. Every Christmas Eve, I talk about the birth of hope. And my concept is pretty well akin to this. It could come from anywhere. But not only could it come from anywhere in that moment of potentiality in a new child arriving, that potential remains with us throughout our lives. There's an old story of the Desert Fathers, the early monks living in the desert in their monasteries. Once there was a monastery that had fallen upon hard times. Some of the younger monks had left in dissatisfaction, and no new men were joining. There were but a handful of monks and their leader, the abbot, remaining. They began fighting amongst themselves, each blaming the hard times on the faults and the failings of the other. One day, a traveling rabbi stopped at the monastery for a night's rest. He ate and prayed alongside the other monks. And the next day, as the rabbi prepared to continue on his journey, the abbot drew him aside. He told them of the problems of the monastery and asked him for his observations, for some advice to share with the other monks. And upon hearing the abbot's woes, the rabbi was quiet for some time. "Cannot you give me some advice to help my monastery to thrive again?" the abbot begged. "Your monks will not listen to my advice," the rabbi replied. "But perhaps they would benefit from an observation. The Messiah dwells among you here at this monastery." "One of us?" asked the abbot. "Which one?" "No, that I cannot say. Share this with your brothers, and in time it will be revealed to you." And the abbot thanked him and sent him on his way, and then gathered all his monks together, the ones who remained, and they listened in amazement to the news. "One of us." "But who?" each one asked out loud. Then to themselves they wondered, it could be Brother Robert. Or could it? Surely not Brother Henry, but there are times when not the youngest, well, maybe the abbot himself? Could it be me? Soon things began to change at the monastery as each began to see the Messiah in the other. and to hear the Messiah's words in each word spoken. And soon people began to wander back to the monastery. And in time, new monks joined, and the monastery thrived. The Messiah is among you. Each person, due to our own inherent worth and dignity, due to the potentiality that exists in all of us, we have the potential to be the Messiah, the good neighbor. Not just at the moment of our birth, but at every rebirth and season of renewal we arrive at. We have time to grasp back on to that potentiality. After all, as the old saying goes, we are the ones we're waiting for. So we are waiting for the coming of the good neighbor, who could be any one of us, who could be a whole bunch of us, who could be all of us. But how? How do we wait? Well, we light a candle to start, but it seems like the least we could possibly do in this circumstance. We light the candle because it's like the string around our finger. We are being reminded that we have to do something amidst all of this waiting. We have to be intentional about the time we are taking and what we are doing. It's very hard to consider in these darkest times, not just because of our seasonal affective disorder, but because we tend to spend a lot of time at the end of the year inventorying all the positive and negative experiences that we have, and sometimes we lean a little more heavily on the negative experiences, whether we deserve that or not. We need to hit the pause button on that. So we light a candle, and we remember what we need to do as we wait. Isaiah doesn't say, wait in the wilderness for the good neighbor to come. Prepare in the wilderness a highway. Prepare to welcome the unknown, the guest, the stranger, the neighbor you didn't know you had yet. The customs of hospitality in the Jewish culture, even then, living in those desert environs was sacrosanct, was sacred. For the traveler passing through, for the immigrant to the new land. Welcome them in. Give them food and water and shelter for the night if they need it. Show them you mean them no harm. We're making up a room. We're making up a room in our hearts for whatever it is that is coming, for whatever potentiality there might be out there. Here to renew us, revive us, here to show us how to be the good neighbor. Isaiah even gives us some instructions on how we prepare. Make straight in the desert a highway, lift up every valley, lower every mountain and hill, make the uneven ground level, and the rough places plain. We're not waiting like the loyal hound at the window for us to come home from work. As joyous as that experience can be for those of us who have had dogs in our lives. We are not the wistful dog. We are actively preparing. We are making a space, and we are making that space accessible, and we are readying ourselves to be open to the opportunity that may be arriving. When someone appears as a good neighbor, or by some grace, we find that in ourselves. The rush of holiday preparations look kind of like this, but we're preparing for others. We are engaging in our own form of a hospitality to others with gifts and food, and welcoming into our homes, perhaps, and giving some shelter if they're not ready to drive home yet. But the Advent preparation is soul work. It's heart work. The good neighbor is among you. Could be here any moment now. Is it you? Is it me? Maybe. We are called to prepare in the homes of our hearts a room for the guest who will arrive, making the pathway straight, lowering the mountains, clearing away as many obstacles as we can so that the path is clear and they can find their way in, or we can find our way at last into our own hearts. And so we break for a time and hit the pause button and contemplate. Take that inventory your brain is just going to take off and do anyway for the year and ask it some questions. Be purposeful in how you review your time. Your meditation could be as simple as this. Week 1 in hope, we focus on. Ask, what is the one moment in the past year or the past months? What is the one moment that gave me hope? How do I convert this into a fuel for my soul? Ask, where can I be? How can I be someone else's moment of hope? Week 2 for peace. Where have I found peace in my life, even if just for a moment? And friends, sometimes all we can do is find a little moment. Sometimes it's all we get, so it is precious. And we need to inventory those. Where have I found peace in my life? How do I bring that with me into every room I walk into every interaction that I have with others? How am I the source of another's peace? And joy. What has brought joy to us? What was the moment, the single second in time where we felt not just a delight, but an expansive happiness, an elation in the world around us? Where have I found that moment? How do I give that to another? Or at least refrain from tamping down on another's joy if they're having that moment. And at last, love. Because it all comes back to love. When have I felt love? Not just that, oh, I love that, but the transcendent love. The love that is created when we tie together those moments of hope and peace and joy that lead us to a transcendent love, a love that leaves us feeling even briefly connected to everything. Your contemplation can be as simple as that, but also as complicated as that. Sometimes those aren't easy questions to answer, but that's why we pause and take the time. So light a candle once in a while throughout this season. Pause in the blistering, breakneck pace. It doesn't have to be an Advent wreath. If that's not your jam, that's fine. It could be a tea light you forgot you had in a utility drawer. But light it and remember why. And take the time to contemplate, to take that inventory, to prepare. Advent may not be for you. Maybe it isn't for everyone. One ritual can't be all things to all people. But bear in mind, bear in heart, bear in soul, the good neighbor is among us. It could be even you. So may we all take some time in this season to straighten the pathways, to sweep up the corners, to dust the mantle, to put out the doormat, and be ready to nourish and shelter the good that can still be yet to come. May it be so. As we prepare to return to our daily lives, it is time to give something of the gifts of this congregation back to the larger community we are part of. It is time for our offering. During the month of December, as has been our tradition for years, all cash and undesignated funds we collect on Sundays will be given to our partners at Self-Help Incorporated in support of their work for the indigent and people in need throughout Los Alamos and Santa Fe and Rio Arriba counties. You may give through the baskets this morning or through the Givelify app, and I'm going to remember to put up that Q code on a regular basis someday. The offering will now be accepted. May what you give bring you joy and into deeper relationship with this community. And it's December, which means we've got a lot going on, so we don't need to have enough room to put the announcements title on the announcement slide this week. I keep skipping this part. I think it just hasn't caught on, even with me, so maybe we eliminate that. We've got a lot coming up. Next week is our second Sunday forum. We'll be welcoming the topic of living two worlds, an indigenous perspective on growing up in Los Alamos. Please join us for that. We always have some interesting perspectives in this room at that time. So stick around for that. Next week, December 10th, we'll be having gingerbread house making in the afternoon, starting around 3 p.m., going for a couple of hours. We need advance registration for this event. We have a limited number of supplies. We can take about 20 pairs of people or 40 people getting paired up to do these. So talk to Tina. There is a $20 supply fee for this event, but it's a fun time. Come join us for that. On December 17th, we'll hold our first Christmas pageant in several years. We had our first read-through and a signing of parts with our cast yesterday. It's delightful. You're going to enjoy it. It will be beautiful chaos, as it always is. So come and join us in the spirit of that in the season. Afterwards will be our potluck for the holidays, right alongside our Santa Claus meet and greet. We get the real Santa, guys, and he doesn't even take a chunk out of our budget to bring him in here. There's no fees. Alongside that, the Santa Gives Back program is taking place. We will have the Blood-mobile here for blood donations during that potluck event and the Santa meet and greet. Please refer to this month's Voice for the URL and the QR code to register with them to sign up for a slot. They do have limited spaces for that as well. Our annual solstice celebration will be on the 21st, on the solstice at 7 p.m., beginning as we always do in our parking lot with our spiral walk. Please join us for that as well. We always draw a big crowd for that. It seems to mean a lot to people. And finally, Christmas Eve will take place on Christmas Eve on the 24th. We will have a service at 7 p.m. preceded by an extended prelude of some special music at 6:45, so be there for that as well. We'll have a Christmas cookie reception afterwards to meet and greet. And please note, we will not have a morning service that day. That's a lot of worship to do in one day, so we're going to stick it to the evening that day. You're welcome to come at 10:30 in the morning, but it'll be for quiet contemplation. And now, would you all please rise in body or spirit and join in our closing hymn, number 95. Friends, may life bless us and keep us. May the light of life shine upon us and out from within us and be gracious to us and bring us peace. For this is the day. This is the one wild and precious life we have been given. So let us all find a way to rejoice and be glad in it. Go in peace.